Greatly appreciate you so very much. Thank you so much for being part of our class today. If you'd like some hormonal frequencies, be sure to volunteer by putting your date of birth into the chat. And we're going to get started in just one moment. We are almost ready to do that. We just got a live stream, get everything looking great for you. Thank you so much for being here. Well, it's getting close to Black Friday, and we are going to be having specials on just about everything that we offer, and we'll be announcing them later this week. So quantum capsules, remedy plates, accessories, courses, everything you could really want for your genius practice, we will be offering it at a special during Black Friday. We're going to be announcing those soon so that you can plan accordingly, get ready for those. So we're excited to do that. We're going to be having a class today on menopause, and that was requested, I believe, by Isabel. So if you have a request, something you'd like us to feature, talk about, share with you, be sure to send me a message, Ariel at geniusbiofeedback.com. Okay, so if you'd like to volunteer today, be sure to send me your date of birth. And oh, Isabel, you're quite welcome. And we do document everything that we're doing at our blog at geniusbiofeedback.com. So if you go to the blog and you hit the Learn menu, you can see a lot of the offerings there. In addition, you can see everything we have set up for you today for our class. So let's go ahead and we can quickly check in there. All right, so if we go to geniusbiofeedback.com and we click on the Learn menu, you can see that we've got the blog set up for today right here, and you can see all the handouts for today as well. All right, so tips and strategies for menopause. You might have a client that you want to work on. It might be for yourself, and this is where you can get everything. So there you go. That you can get all the downloads here. I think we have some processes for you. There's a hormonal balance process. You can see all the libraries that we have available. And we even have a bundle. Okay, we have a hormonal wellness bundle that contains all the libraries available within the hormonal category. So you can check them out there. And of course, they will be on special for Black Friday. So you may want to see what we're offering for Black Friday. That's going to be great. The bundle is already greatly reduced, and so you might want to check out the bundle, and then we're going to offer that at a discount too for Black Friday, so you may want to check that out. Thank you so much for checking in today and being part of our Genius Biofeedback community. I really appreciate it. And what I want to emphasize today is that this is a place for question and answer. So please go ahead and put your questions about, maybe it's custom playlist, maybe it's synergistics. What questions do you have today that we could possibly answer for you? My goal has always been to get this as usable as possible. You know, what can we do with a genius to, to train you, to support you, to help you to understand it at its most fundamental level? And so that's really what we want to do in our classes and in our training. So whatever questions that you might have today, please go ahead and put them into the chat area so that I can answer them. What stumbling block do you have? What challenges do you have? Is it clients? Is it explaining the genius? And you can go ahead and put that into the chat. Well, I appreciate you coming here to talk about menopause. We're going to do a case. So if you want to work on hormones, be sure to put your date of birth into the chat so we can work with you. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of our Genius community. It's great to have you. And so let's just talk a little bit more about this particular topic. But before we do, I just want to talk a little bit about one of the most popular questions that we get in our business membership. And we do have a business membership, which you can join at any time. You can cancel at any time. But the business membership is for anybody who wants really to get support in improving their practice and improving their business skills, building your business. And I get constantly great questions in the business membership that we go over and really help you to hone your skills as a genius practitioner. So in the business membership, somebody, one of the most questions that's asked the most is, how do I talk about the genius? So one thing we really came up with in business membership that I wanted to share with you is that we came up with these 3 parts to really talk about the genius. And it goes scan, discover, and relax. So when you're talking about the genius, you can either say these 3 things, or you could just think them to yourself that this is how I want to basically break it down for people. There's 3 different parts. If you really think about it, the genius is so amazing that it has these diverse, aspects to it. It has a very sophisticated voice scanning ability. So this voice scan is amazing because it captures and interprets the voice as a frequency. And then we discover all the amazing things that we didn't know about ourselves or know about our client. Sometimes things that so much more information than you could ever imagine. And it really blows the client away, helps them, because raising your level of awareness is really helpful. You need awareness before you can take action in order to change. And then relaxation, this is the whole goal of discovering personalized frequencies, is to help the person to relax. So it's a really great combination: scan, discover, relax. The frequencies were designed to really help people to unwind, relax. And when we talk about quantum biofeedback, they talk about stress disturbances. So every illness is really described as a stress disturbance. We don't say diabetes in quantum biofeedback, we say a diabetes stress disturbance or a blood sugar stress disturbance. And the whole goal of playing these frequencies and training these frequencies is to reduce the stress level. And that's pretty marketable, because if you ever say to somebody, hey, what I do is I help people to reduce their stress, is stress something that you're trying to reduce in your own life? And typically they're like, yes, I am stressed out, I need help. And so the genius really can be marketed this way. It's the best way to market it. It's the most legitimate way to market it, by talking about its ability to help to reduce stress. Now, we did do a research study where people gave us self-reporting through the questionnaires, and they improved in a number of different levels. They improved in the area of pain, they improved in the area of sleep, they improved in the area of mood. And we have published that on our website. So if you go to geniusbiofeedback.com, you can go to the Learn page and learn all about the research study that we did. Okay, so just let's review that a little bit, that we have the most cutting edge scanning technology in the industry. That is something we can be really proud of, is that the developer has worked on this ability to scan with the voice over and over and over again. And so captures the voice, including the tone, the intonation, all of the things that are in your voice that communicate encoded information are interpreted as a frequency. So they're interpreted, they're made into this frequency information that then can be utilized when we go to discover things. So your voice is interpreted as frequency. Then we do the discovery process, which is where we take that frequency and compare it to other frequencies that are in the Genius program. So scan, discover, relax. We apply the powerful voice information to your areas, your different areas of interest, or your client's area of interest. We get powerful information that is personal to that person. It's not enough to get a book about rife frequencies, right? Or even a rife machine. You have to sit there and say, gee, I wonder which frequency I should use today. The Genius helps you to choose those frequencies by addressing the person, the individual. You need that information from them in order to make the determination about what their best frequencies would be. So the person also gains a new awareness through this discovery process. You can take deeper dives by going from sort of the general and system overview into the deep dive into the custom libraries. And even performing the initial scan, you're actually clearing things out in the initial scan. So there is sort of a harmonizing process even in the scanning that you're doing, but there's also raising their awareness. Now, anytime you tell the client, hey, you've got this imbalance, you've got a stress disturbance going on with your liver, their consciousness comes in and immediately starts working on the issue. We are self-healing organisms. If you show the person what is out of balance, their whole consciousness will move sort of heaven and earth in order to, even just their energy, their intention, they want to get better. And so that starts to move into action, but you have to have an awareness that this is even an issue. And so that is what is amazing. This is why, even if you've had the genius for years, you still feel compelled. Wow, I'd like to do a scan on myself. Like, I'd like to know what those secret pieces are that they're otherwise completely unseen, and I can reveal them through a genius scan. Like, how cool is that? And then we can take these imbalances that we've gained awareness about and do something about it. That's the most amazing thing. A lot of our world is filled with problems. Okay, this problem, that problem. If you avail yourself to the daily news and things that are going on, you probably feel exhausted because all you're filled with problem, right? And here we get an opportunity to see, yes, there are things that are out of balance, but we get to do solutions. So the solution is to play the frequencies. We play the frequencies and the goal of playing the frequencies is to reduce a stress disturbance, which in and of itself, it means relax some part of the body, some aspect of the body. So we can actually do something with the information we've discovered. We can play the frequencies that can have the most impact. The goal of playing these frequencies is relaxation and the restoration of feelings of balance. So there are tones within every genius frequency that you play that is harmonizing, that has the Schumann resonance, that has frequencies that help to relax and unwind the person. But then they can even be further focused on specific things that they want to accomplish or achieve. So the frequencies within the genius are designed to reduce these stress disturbances. So when we talk about the genius, we want to remember scan, discover, relax. Those three elements, either it's something you can say to the person, you can talk about it. Well, it does these three things: scan, discover, relax. And the thing they'll probably really connect with is the relax part, but people love the discovery part too. So the scan is interpreting it to frequency. The discover is taking that frequency and comparing it to other frequencies. And the relax is putting the frequencies into the tray and helping them to restore balance, reduce stress within the field. I hope that helps when you're talking about the genius, because again, we go back to it over and over again. Now, if this doesn't help, then I want your honest feedback. Email me, Ariel at Genius Biofeedback, or go ahead and put something in our Facebook group, or we also have a Genius Biofeedback Connect group, a special private group. If you're not part of that, you can request to join it. And in there, we talk about all types of things. And a common thing that people ask about is, gosh, I still don't know the elevator speech for the genius. I still don't know how to talk about the genius. I still don't know how to explain the genius. So scan, discover, relax, go back and review this, see if it helps. If not, I'd like to offer up even more information or more ways to talk about it so you can really share with people what we're doing here and it helps you to help them. Okay, so this is last week's. This is, oh my goodness, what is going on? This is not our menopause one. Gosh, I tell you, this is an interesting day. It looks like my slides are either missing or they weren't saved. So that's interesting. Let's go ahead here. Fun times. Let's see if we got it. This is all last week. Let's see what we've got here. That is hilarious. I did a whole bunch of slides for you today, and it doesn't look like they were saved. And I tell you, I have all kinds of crazy things that I've been trying to deal with this morning. Let me just see if I can do this, because otherwise I can pretty much do it from my memory. Let me just see if this one, and this is a grader. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. I knew I wasn't losing my mind there. Okay. All right, let's talk about menopause. So menopause is something a lot of women obviously deal with in their life, anywhere from sort of 48 and menopause starting maybe around 47, 48 up to mid 50s. And then there's postmenopausal symptoms. And there's a lot of symptoms that occur premenopausally as well. The real problem that we're having with menopause, perimenopause, all this time, I've learned so much about hormones. It was a big part of my naturopathic practice. My just what we learned in school, a big part of it was about hormones and balancing hormones. And after all the details and everything we learned about, it really boils down to the world that we're living in. The world that we're living is very stress inducing, so it amps up our cortisol levels, and that robs from our progesterone. And it's also very much filled with estrogen, xenoestrogens in the pesticides, in the herbicides, in the meat, in the milk, in the dairy. All of those things tend to super concentrate hormones. We are constantly exposed to xenoestrogens in the foods that Americans or Westerners are encouraged to eat, which are not, really the healthiest, or they're just super contaminated because they're mass produced. So you get this huge influx of xenoestrogens that are very hard for the liver to break down, cause all types of physiological effects in the body. And what's worse is that there are all types of things that tend to make us produce less progesterone in our body. So progesterone is really produced when we're eating lots of plant-based foods. In fact, plant-based foods there's been over 5,000 plants that have been discovered with these sterols that help us to properly produce progesterone, but people don't consume very many of them. So it's a combination of too much estrogen and too little progesterone. Even if they were in balance during the fertile years, they naturally drop off physiologically. But there's this much bigger gap because people are still taking in xenoestrogens, but they don't have any way of supplementing unless they learn how through frequency or supplements or hormone replacement to replace that progesterone. So it really boils down to a lot of menopausal symptoms are from too much estrogen and too little progesterone, which you'd think estrogen starts to fall off in menopause or in perimenopause. It does, but it's actually the loss of progesterone that's much more significant. Now, we covered a lot of this in the practitioner course. So there is a practitioner module, 4 classes just dedicated to hormones. Now, this course is going to be available at a discounted price for Black Friday. And really, if you like natural medicine, if you like the genius, you're going to want to check out this course. It goes all through hormones, understanding hormones, and sort of elaborates on what we're going to be talking about today. Now, that's available on our practitioner page. If you go to geniusbiofeedback.com, go to learn, and you can see all of our practitioner programs. Now, let's talk a little bit about this. Women have symptoms in menopause, hot flashes, and men do have a corollary. It's called andropause, and that's a little bit different, but some of the principles remain the same. They're very affected by estrogens, which can cause hyperplasia of the prostate. But women have hot flashes, night sweats, water retention, fat and water gain, that's water retention, sleep disturbances, decreased libido, mood swings, headaches, fatigue, just, weight gain in all the wrong places. And it's a lot of, if for women who go through menopause, it's very disruptive. They feel like there's a lot of confusion, mood swings. They don't know what's going on. There's a lot that's happening in menopause. Now, I just want to cut to the chase today and tell you that really this estrogen dominance and progesterone deficiency really is the key. And if you don't learn anything else about menopause, learn to study the essentials about progesterone. And you might just be like, oh, okay. So I'm going to supplement progesterone. Oh, okay, well, don't just learn that. Kind of learn more of what does progesterone do and why is it so important and why do we find that it's so deficient today? Because this even relates back to years and years previous to menopause. Progesterone is really important even for women in their fertility years. And they are also suffering from massive deficiency, again, because of this nutritionally deficient of all the plants, and also all of the stress. Again, that adrenal being revved up, that adrenal function being revved up is going to tend to rob from the production of progesterone. Okay, so we really don't have in ancient societies and indigenous societies, we did not have this crazy symptomatic menopause. So what happened? Well, one of them is we stopped, consuming as many herbs and plants as we could. And there are 5,000 plants that make sterols that have and this is a progestogenic effect is the way you say it. Xenoestrogens contribute to estrogen excess, which exacerbates estrogen I'm sorry, it exacerbates the estrogen, not the deficiency, but the differential. So the estrogen excess is what it should say. Cortisol may affect and even inhibit the production of progesterone. So let's talk about what the effects of proper progesterone are. Now, where do people get progesterone? You could, for any menopausal woman, you could run the different hormonal libraries that we have in the Genius, and a lot of them have to do and really will point out the progesterone issue for that woman. If you've ever run the hormonal libraries for any of your clients or for yourself, it pops right out. You can see it. It'll say, the blues will be progesterone. It'll also, in hormonal solutions, it'll be things like borage. It'll be things like chaste tree berry. It'll be things like evening primrose oil, and you'll often see them in the reds and the blues for that client that is menopausal. It's really cool, right? So progesterone supports the healthy sleep cycle. It helps you to burn fat, supports lean muscle mass, maybe cardioprotective, eases anxiety, improves memory, prevents the overgrowth of cells in the endometrial lining. What do we know that women can be at risk for with estrogen excess, or we call estrogen dominance? Could be uterine cancer, right? Endometrial cancer. How do you prevent that? What happened in the early 2000s was this major boom of all of the companies, the natural compounding companies that produce progesterone cream. And it has been the reason it exploded so much is that it was so successful for people. And that probably was just like a really important time when the estrogen excess or estrogen dominance had, reached such a problematic level because of all the chemicals in the food, because of all the hormones in the food. So that late 90s, early 2000s saw the advent, this just explosion of all these companies that started to compound natural progesterone cream, and it just really worked for women. Okay, so you could run different frequencies to help with progesterone. We have the endocrine regeneration program, which focuses on that and focuses on different homeopathic, homeopathic dosages that you could use for progesterone, different energetics that we use for progesterone. There's different homeopathics called luteinum and that help with the precursors to creating progesterone. We also know progesterone helps to lower triglycerides. It's essential for bone growth. It assists in the proper function of the thyroid gland. It reduces hot flashes. It eases water retention. It assists, this is so interesting. Do you remember, years ago when people would actually take, the horse urine, the estrogen, the synthetic estrogen replacements and all of that Premarin, right? They talked a lot in those books and the literature before the Women's Health Initiative that discovered how toxic and how cancer oncogenic they were, how cancer causing those synthetic estrogens could be. They were like the worst thing. Women didn't, needed that like they needed a hole in the head. They needed more synthetic estrogen because they already had estrogen dominance. So what they really need is maybe some weak estrogens, like what is called estradiol or estriol. That might be beneficial for some of the symptoms that truly come from, lowering levels of estrogen, but not estrone, which is the strongest level of estrogen. That's going to exacerbate or make greater the problem of estrogen excess or the relative difference between estrogen and progesterone. So it's going to make it worse. But they used to tout it as saying, women after menopause get more cardiovascular problems, get more development of heart attacks and different heart issues. So it's really interesting to take note that it says that progesterone assists in preventing the plaque from forming on the arterial walls. So that's fascinating, right? So right away, you almost want to run out and get your hormone levels checked to see if you are indeed deficient in progesterone and do something about it. Now, we have a lot of remedies in natural medicine that really help with this progesterone deficiency. And of course, you can use naturally produced progesterone creams. There's naturally compounded. We don't really, in natural medicine and naturopathic medicine, if you guys don't know, I'm a licensed naturopathic doctor, we don't really do cheerleading for prometrium, for the synthetic form of progesterone. We really want to use the natural compounded. They're compounded from natural plants and then made into this compounded progesterone that can be utilized as a cream. So you can get that now. You can just buy that over the counter, which is awesome. Or if for higher doses, you get a prescription from a licensed doctor, a licensed naturopath, and so forth. But you can also use herbal remedies. You can also use frequency. So one of the things that's really talked about and been studied quite a bit is chaste tree berry. It acts as a precursor to that progesterone. So if you wanted to get a little tincture of chaste tree berry and take a little, couple of droppers full in the morning, a couple droppers full of night, like that would be fine. It's a nice precursor, and it has that, plant spirit medicine, the energetics, and it helps to encourage the body to produce its own natural progesterone. And there's lots of improvement usually in hot flashes and things like that with just using the herbal medicine. So chaste tree berry can act as a precursor, supports the body's natural production of progesterone, healthy dopamine levels, improved sleep. Progesterone and sleep, there's a huge connection there. There's also a really good book, which is a little bit more radical, which is called Sex, Lies, and Menopause. And that book you can read, and it's a little bit more of a, sort of an offbeat, version of talking about hormone replacement therapy, but it's very, very good. And there's a lot of really important information in there. And what she really makes the case for in that book is how detrimental the loss of natural hormones is, and how pro-aging it is. So how can you replenish those hormones in your body? I think part of it is you can consume more plants. You can consume more herbs. You could do meditation. You could do Tai Chi. You do things that naturally help the brain and the vessels and the body. But in that book, that was, I believe it's T.C. Wiley is the author of Sex, Lies, and Menopause. She really makes a huge case for hormone replacement therapy. So you always have to find a balance. We use compounded hormones in natural medicine, and you always just want to find a balance. There may be a really important place for actual hormone replacement therapy with naturally compounded hormones. And probably it's also good to change and improve your lifestyle and avail yourself to some of these herbal medicines. And with chaste tree berry being progesteronic, it really can help with sleep, because progesterone deficiency massively takes away from the experience of deep sleep. And so you have people who do really high doses before bedtime, and they sleep like a baby for the first time in a really long time when they're in those menopausal years. Again, it reduces bloating and water retention, can help with breast health, can help with fibrocystic breasts. It has a positive effect on digestion, because in menopausal years, women can feel really bloated, and it's poor digestion. All the hormonal changes are affecting digestion, and also they're just retaining more water due to the loss of progesterone. And remember, progesterone is that hormone that holds the embryo, that allows for the healthy gestation. And so miscarriages are often associated with low progesterone levels. Okay, so I thought we had one on borage as well, but this is chaste tree berry. We can talk about some of the other ones in the hormone, in the actual case. So I think a couple of people had volunteered here. So let's see what we've got. Heather, why don't we work with you? So Heather M, why don't we work with you today? So if you're out there, we're going to bring you up here as a panelist. And I'm still struggling with the picture part, but we'd love to have you join us anyway, and we'll struggle with the picture. You may just have to do the voice. So let's see what we've got here, and let's see what we can do. Okay, there we go. I'm going to bring you up as a panelist, see how you're doing today. And I know we had some questions here as well. I couldn't get the custom playlist to save when I tried last week. Kathy, the best antidote to that is to delete and reinstall your program. You'll find that most issues are resolved that way. Okay, so let's go ahead and see our person here. Heather, how are you?
Hi, I am doing well, thank you.
Okay, good. It's always so nice to have you join us. So how are things going with you and the projects that you've been working on?
Well, it's end of the growing season, so kind of quiet right now, but had some significant improvement in yield. So
Is there
it was
anything that
good.
you can, just one example you can share with us where you played some frequencies? I know you play them remotely for some of these farms. Just like tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, there was one instance in, I'm trying to remember what state it was in. I think it was Idaho. I think it was Idaho. There was one part of a field that we used as a control, and the other as one that we used playing frequencies. And the yield was just so much more improved with the frequencies versus the control.
Well,
It
I
was
think a lot of
amazing.
people don't know that you've been doing this, but it's really cool. I've known for a while that you've been working on this idea that frequency could actually improve the yield of certain plants. And what frequencies are you utilizing for this?
All kinds of frequencies. Really, I have a process that I go through to clear the land first, and also looking at the skies, harmonizing the skies. It's amazing what you find out there as far as chemtrails.
And what are
And
you Well, give us an example of what you're finding that they're quite prevalent. I assume.
yeah, one in particular that I find a lot is that chemtrails are preventing beneficial UV rays from coming through.
And is that something through a library testing you were able to see that?
Yes, yes,
That's really cool. And that is the really cool thing about the genius is like it's kind of a truth teller for things that we suspect, but then we become these little researching detectives and then we note them in the frequencies, which is so cool.
yes. It's been pretty amazing.
That is really awesome. So you utilize frequencies then in order to clear the skies as well.
Yes, or
I love it.
clear the impact of the skies for the
That's
plants.
another great way to do it. That's another great way to go about it. I absolutely love it. And so you're seeing some real world differences in the yields and the ones where you run the frequencies versus the ones that you don't, which is your control.
Yes,
I mean, this gives a lot of hope. This is like such a massively important project. It really gives hope for humanity. We're facing right now, certainly the possibility that we may, go back into sort of a more survival mode where we have to think about food production. And wouldn't this be wonderful if we had a way that we sort of wrote down how to use the genius in order to facilitate the growth of crops and gardens and things like that?
absolutely. And have used this for a couple of years on my dad's garden, and it's been pretty amazing what has happened there.
Well, what has happened? Tell us about it.
Well, one thing that he really appreciates because he is in his 80s, that preventing weeds from taking over.
Hmm.
That is one thing that I have been able to do, but also just the increase of the lusciousness of the plants. And I mean, that has been amazing to see because I do always use a control. I will focus on one row with frequencies and one without. Um, but then also keeping pests away. It has been very effective in keeping pests away.
Okay, that is really cool. Well, what we would love to do is do a separate program and really just maybe do a show and tell, get some of your pictures together and share this information and the methodology for doing it. It's incredibly important to humanity at this time.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure.
All right, well, let's go ahead and give you a scan and work on you and give you some wonderful frequencies today.
Yes,
So
please.
let's go ahead and record your voice. So just give me a moment to center myself here. I'll start recording your voice in 3, 2, 1. I'm recording.
AEIOU, Heather Matthews. AEIOU, Heather Matthews. AEIOU.
Excellent. Okay, just for time today, I'm going to skip the voice, but you skip the picture. And that is just because of the setup that I have here with my computer. What device do you use your Genius on?
I have an iPad.
So an Apple iPad, and that works pretty well
Yes.
for you?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Very good. So let's go ahead and we'll go to this now. Anything, is it okay if we work on hormones? Is there anything else that you want me to take a look at for you?
Uh, yeah, Lyme.
Lyme. Okay. And also, if you do you have a Quanta capsule?
I do.
Okay, perfect. So go ahead and put the email for the Quanta capsule into the chat, and then I will be able to send you the frequencies from today to your Quanta capsule. Would that be okay?
That would be lovely.
Okay, I'm going to let you sit back, relax, and enjoy, and we'll come back and talk with you in just a little while.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Heather. And thank you so much for sharing. That's really cool. We definitely want to come back and explore and learn more from you. I love that she's using a control. She's doing it in a very scientific way. That's awesome. I'm just grabbing some books that I have. I often use Heal Your Body by Louise Hay, the Floral Acupuncture book for interpreting flower essences. And I use the desk reference success cards a lot as well in my sessions. And if you guys have any suggestions of things that you use in your sessions, go ahead and let us know. And let's go ahead and see what some of your comments are here. What's happening with Ryan's AI project? As we have said in the past, the only information I've been given is that he is not pursuing anything at this time. So that's the only thing. I noticed that he put out a questionnaire the other day. He's asking people about, I guess you make sure that, when he asks about it, that you let him know how you feel. But I think a lot of people did write to him and say to him that they weren't interested at this time. So he has abandoned the plans as far as I know at this time. If something that you're really excited about, Pat, you certainly could write to him and let me know, or let him know, not me. I always get asked about the aura and what all the colors mean. Is there a simple way to explain this to our clients? Yes, we have a document on that, so you can request it. And probably if you search the blog for aura, there's a PDF that we've created for this purpose, or you can just write to us and request it. Dr. Drake says stress greatly affects the hormone balance. Well, I actually said that. I said stress or increases in cortisol causes a progesterone deficiency. Okay, sex lies and menopause, does it debunk the age myth? So Michelle, I'm not really sure what you're talking about there. Sharon says, eat more healthy fats, not oils. Good, I totally agree with that, but I don't agree that you have to go out of your way to consume any healthy fats. Just consume unprocessed whole foods. Don't go out of your way to consume anything, nuts, seeds, avocados, because they tend to make you gain weight. They really don't add anything, but the companies that produce nuts and avocados really want you to believe that you need to go out of your way to pursue those, but they really just cause you to gain weight for the most part. And a lot of nuts and seeds and oils may also impair the body's ability to produce nitrous oxide by negatively affecting the endothelium, the vasculature of the body. And I know that that's highly controversial and in some ways, and sort of works against what people mostly think about what they need. But you've been really marketed to and propagandized to think that you need those particular foods. But if you stop eating them for a while and you just eat whole unprocessed foods, focusing on potatoes, rice, sweet potatoes, vegetables, and fruits, you'll naturally lose weight. Your complexion will look even more wonderful, and you actually start going back to a really healthy weight as a result of not consuming those foods on a regular basis. Okay. All right, so what library would clear chemtrails? We actually have a library for clearing chemtrails at geniusbiofeedback.com. And chemtrail library, chemtrail clearing and detoxification. Carolee, thanks for posting that. And I would love to learn more. So we'll bring Heather back to learn more about what she's doing with her plants. We really appreciate that. And thank you so much for presenting that to us. Is age a factor for menopause, or is it a myth? Well, Michelle, what I would really, go back to is what I said at the beginning. I probably would just go ahead and review it. So, go back and look at the beginning of this recording. And what I said was that menopause is not really an issue in indigenous cultures, because it is the massive consumption of foods that have all of these concentrated estrogens that's really affecting people and causing them to have even perimenopausal symptoms, 10, 15 years before menopause. Let's go ahead and take a look at the aura right now, and let's see what we see in the aura. And so people were asking about the aura. We did create a document on what I call the new egg aura that's not so new anymore. And you can see all about the aura. And I do have plans to do a more extended lesson on the aura, because I know that that's a huge interest to people. So that's an interesting aura. And so we have a lot of yellow. We have a lot of green. Green is connected with the heart. Green is connected with healing. We have the yellow on the rim here. We have a little bit of purple peeking through, and we've always held pretty steady that the center is more of like sort of the predominant issue, so something around the heart. And usually I see this as sort of some digestive distress going on, encouragement to do a detox, things like that. So let's go ahead and let's save this one right here, and we'll come back to it. We can also remove, it says hide the avatar. The avatar is going to be this person sort of sitting in that meditative stance there, and we can hide it. And then it gives us this. What I'm supposed to interpret from this, I don't know. This is just a very neutral color. I don't have a lot to say about it. I would just more interpret the green and the yellow and the sort of the purple peeking through. People really like to get micro focused on the aura. It's just a fascination for people, which I completely understand. But it's really just meant to be an overall sort of quick look at what's going on with the person's energy field. We're not really meant to sort of pick it apart, but I know I'm going to be overruled by the majority that really wants to do this micro deep dive into the aura. So we will do that coming up, and we'll let you know about that. So what I typically do when I have a case is I'm looking at some things that I've made a part of what's called basic process number 1. And in basic process number 1, we look at things like today's stress, and then we put in the reds and the blues. So we see sort of fungus, virus, bacteria. I think overall we're looking at a global sort of suppression of the immune system. And I don't know. I mean, we know that we're going to see it in people, certain populations of people. I think you all know, what I mean when I say that, but we just overall see so much pressure on everybody's immune system, even if they've done the experiment, not done the experiment. I think you know what I'm talking about. So we do see pathogens, acidity, nutritional, lymphatic, brain, inflammation. Okay, so we just sort of take that in, we think about it, we might make some notes about it, and then we go over to where we're looking at the body systems. And so we look at body systems. Okay, we've got endocrine. Oh, that's actually working today. We've got muscular. Oh, thanks to Jerry. He gave me all this encouragement to keep trying. So this actually is working now. If you just hold down long enough, it'll just pick this up and we can drop it in. And this is on the desktop version, so that's looking really good. So we've got digestive, immune, urinary. This is all very, very typical that I see going on with people. So we just sort of take all that information. And as you're doing this, in today's stress, you're thinking, maybe I want to take a deeper dive into custom libraries that I have on the digestive system, or a deeper dive into libraries I have on the immune system, on the respiratory system. We have all types of libraries for that at geniusbiofeedback.com. You may already have them in your library collection. And that's usually what I'm thinking about. And we created a library that I want to look at. I'm just going to advance to that because I know it's getting late in the class. And we did this library for people who did the research project, who completed the research project. I hope this works. And let me just see if I can get this to cooperate. No, yeah, there we go. And it's the Total Body Wellness Boost. Now to search in the new screen here, you have to use this little triangle or chevron. We drop down here, and this is where we search. And we have a library called Total Body Wellness Boost. And what it did is it sort of takes the today's stress panel and expands on it. So in the stress panel, you have things like cardiovascular, digestion, kidneys, adrenal. So this library, Total Wellness Boost, is a way that you can take a deeper dive. sometimes you don't know where to go with today's stress, and this takes you a deeper dive. Well, if it's cardiovascular, okay, this is related to the valves of the heart. If it's digestion, this is related to the stomach. If it's kidneys, now that's interesting. This is related to the vasculature of the kidneys. I am developing some new trainings that I think you're going to love, and a lot of my focus these days is on circulation. A lot of the libraries I've done have been on circulation. You hear me wax poetic about circulation. The circulation and the ability of your endothelial lining to produce nitrous oxide and to be able to not damage, not consume foods that damage the endothelium is your lifeline. That is your your ticket, your free ride to anti-aging. That is your free ride to longevity. That is your free ride to being disease free. So you have to sort of reverse engineer it and think, if I want my endothelium to be pristine, I want it to be really healthy, what foods do I need to consume? It is foods that are going to be low fat, that are going to come from plants, and are going to tend to be free, not have free oils, things like that. That keeps your endothelium looking spiffy, clean, really healthy and responsive, so that you can always perfuse this oxygen, you can always perfuse this energy. What are the different types of lifestyle things that you would do? Stretching, in particular stretching through yoga, that's going to really exercise the vasculature and allow you to keep, again, it's another way to keep that endothelium really, really healthy, especially stretching. Stretching creates a sort of a tourniquet effect where you sort of hold off blood flow for a while and then you just release all this blood flow into the area. So that is really the biggest key to anti-aging. If you want to like sort of think about it and craft it, a lot of companies that talk about anti-aging, whether it be genetic testing or, hey, I've got the greatest supplement, they're often trying to sell you something. And we want to get to the things that are really the truth here, so you can really take them, run with them, and be empowered, whether it's through using frequency or making different decisions in your life. Okay, so this is really interesting about the vasculature. It's telling us that the tiny little vessels of the kidney are what needs support. Now with the Genius, the cool thing is you can just take that whole frequency. I think it's the left side that I need to get that cursor on. Let's see if that works. So will it let me lift it? Will it let me press on it? You have no idea. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so I wanted to bring that into the quick zap. So, you could just work with it that way. Now, we also have a club called Process Club or Case Solvers Club, and we're working a lot of different ways of solving cases. And one of the things I've brought in, but I brought it into class too, is sometimes just working with a few things in the quick zap. And so I just want to point out that when you're talking about the vasculature, something in the body, you can actually go back here and bring in things from sacred geometry, like the toroidal energy. Let's go ahead and bring that in if we can find it. I don't know why it's so difficult to find these. They really should have like an alphabetical, we should have a number thing and then an alphabetical thing here. Oh, look at that toroid. So that's interesting because the toroids is that really circulatory energy, that energy related to the field around the heart. That's interesting that that was coming up kind of low. And then we could just go to the solfeggios and you could choose like 285 or 528. So let's just go ahead and take 528. So what I have to do is, you guys, the reason I'm struggling with this is it's on my desktop, and so you can't touch your screen. It's not a screen touch, so it's a mouse click, and I'm trying to get the hang of how we do that. So it's 528 plus the toroids plus the kidney. So you're trying to get these energies to kind of mix together. You're trying to bring to bear onto the kidneys that toroidal energy and 528. So it's a nice sort of mini balancing. You could do that for like a minute, and then, or until you get to 40% or more rectification, and then proceed on to other things. But let me go back here. We're getting a little bit off course. So let's go ahead and let's go to any menopausal libraries. So let's go to the libraries we have for menopause. Let's look at hormones. So hormone says cortisol. So just like we said, what Michelle said, what we talked about in the beginning, again, that cortisol is so interesting. We have to get that cortisol balanced, right? We can't have too little cortisol. We can't have too much cortisol. Too much cortisol is usually going to short circuit the progesterone. And thyroid imbalance, and this is usually due to this androstenedione, estradiol, this basically androgens, are also due to progesterone deficiency, which is interesting. And estriol is that weak estrogen called E3, not E1, that's estrone. E2 is estradiol, E3 is estriol, and that's really a beneficial estrogen. And so when you go to your naturopath and you get compounded estrogen, that is going to be 80% E3 and 20% E2, 80% estriol, which has positive impacts on bone density. And then we see thyroid imbalance. This also happens with progesterone deficiency. So it's not indicated here, although progesterone low is like 219. So that's really interesting. Let's investigate a little bit further. Let's actually go to hormone assessment. Let's see if we can see anything different here. So if we just go to hormone, a lot of hormonal libraries. Let's go to the one which is hormone disturbance assessment. Let's see what's in there. Estriol, I was hoping we were going to see that progesterone was low, but we're not really seeing it either in this library. All right, let's stick with menopause. And let's go to the menopausal solutions. And there we go. So it says natural progesterone, flax seeds. Now, flax seeds are going to be more, they're filled with lignans, which really helps with hormonal balance overall. They're slightly phytoestrogenic, so it's going to be a weak estrogen effect, which is very similar to what we saw with the estriol. So there may need be a, so we're talking about a woman in her 50s, right? We always say, like, you know, give the range of age instead of the exact age. And so that's going to be in the menopausal years. And so we are going to have some falling off of estrogen. And so these phytoestrogens are really interesting because they're very weak estrogens, but they have only a positive impact. What you see out there about, even about soy, I know it's very controversial, soy taken in from normal foods in a normal food form, assuming it's not contaminated with GMO, is a weak estrogen. But a phytoestrogen is a beneficial thing according to most of the studies that have been done. It is nothing compared to what xenoestrogen is. You're going to find xenoestrogens in sort of, you know, anything that is not organic, but even in organic, there's going to be some estrogen in there. So it's going to be in herbicides, pesticides. If you go out and you have some chicken, you're probably going to get exposed to some xenoestrogens. If you go out and you have a glass of milk, you're going to get exposed to some xenoestrogens. So those are all, they sort of accumulate up the food chain. You're going to get a high dose of exposure to those hormones for any of those foods. And they're also in heavy metals. So heavy metals are going to be xenoestrogenic as well. Borage is a great progesterone supporter, supports the production of progesterone. Methylfolate, okay, so that's going to be a B vitamin that's going to help to produce energy and reduce inflammation. Shilajit is going to be an adaptogen. Dandelion root is going to help with the liver, and the liver is very, very important in menopause because you're having these fluctuations of hormones as well. B complex vitamins and black cohosh, which is also another phytoestrogen. Indole 3-carbinol is at $5.99. Now that's a really great substance that helps to break down estrogens, including xenoestrogens, and that's going to be what's in cruciferous vegetables. And here we've got holy basil, and this is a great adaptogen. Now, tribulus is so interesting because tribulus is a precursor to testosterone. Now, testosterone we mostly think about for men, but women have a small physiological level, and in progesterone, in menopause, it does level off pretty precipitously, and that can also affect women's mood, you know, just feelings of like, man, I don't really want to do anything. You know, testosterone is important in the right balance. And again, probably through eating a lot of plant-based foods and not having this tremendous influx of both stress and xenoestrogens, we probably would be able to produce it fine on our own, which is another case really for doing frequency. For doing frequency, it's sort of energetic hormone replacement therapy. So that's what using some of these frequencies can really do. Now, one thing we really like to include in all of our sessions is some type of flower essence, whether it be Bach flower essences or Alaskan flower essences or Australian bush essences or South African flower essences. All they're available at geniusbiofeedback.com. And it's interesting that a lot of flower essences kind of light up for her. So let's bring them all in by doing the reds and the blues. And then let's see if there's anything else that we want to include let's go ahead, if we go back to the custom libraries, I'm searching in the wrong place, and we have one called the endocrine regeneration. So let's look at that one. The endocrine regeneration, which is really energetic. It's a course as well, which is energetic hormone replacement therapy. And let's just see if there's one that we have. Let's use, for fun, let's use affirmations. So optimizing methylation, that came up for her, methylated folate. So she might have that genetic issue with methylating folate, the MTHFR. My hypothalamus sends the perfect signals to effect hormonal balance. My ability to produce growth hormone is unaffected by age. Going back to Michelle's comments, right? I produce all that I need. I clear harmful estrogens from my liver now. I now express the highest hormonal health that cosmic law will allow for me at this time. So we're going to pull all of those into the main whole tray. And now we have really a well-rounded main whole tray. We have the hormones, we have affirmations, we have flower essences, so we have a nice sort of blend of things. That's a great thing to go into your progressive insights with. Okay, so excellent, excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we've got. Digestive, that's interesting because the aura really was calling out for a digestive cleanse. I clear harmful estrogens from my liver now. That's so interesting. What does the affirmation tell us? As we reverse engineer it, it tells us that we were not clearing out harmful estrogens from our liver, and now we have the opportunity to do so. Vervain, borage, gentian, shilajit, immune, muscular, respiratory, flax seeds. Any negative effects of hormonal metabolism are now cleared. Again, we're raising our level of awareness, which is so, so powerful. Vervain. Vervain is a remedy for those with fiery ideals. Your ability for strong inspiration may keep you above the crowd. This is from the floral acupuncture book, right? And so this really helps to bring, when you feel really passionate about something, it's bringing into balance. A lot of our healing community really is like that. And it's connected to the gallbladder. So this particular flower essence is really connected to the gallbladder meridian. So again, we kind of saw some gallbladder stuff in the aura. Let's go ahead and set the timer for 1 minute. Let's see what some of your other comments and questions might be. Is dragon's blood the best for circulation? I wouldn't say it's the best for circulation, but it is a really cool Amazonian herb, dragon's blood, and it's good for healing injuries as well, even for fractures. Is there a link to foods that have the xenoestrogens? I think I mentioned some of them during class, though. I think there was another question here. I feel affirmations are important, especially dated ones from the past that may be imprinted. Okay, so we have one called the Past Life Trauma Clearing. So we have a past life library for that a lot of people really enjoy. And can you talk about hormonal balances for men too, including ED? So again, it comes from the same actually root cause, but we do have an andropause library, and we have a sexual vitality or ED library as well available on the website. But I did mention that men have that same, it's really the exposure to all of those xenoestrogens that causes a lot of imbalances for men and women. There's just a huge sort of, I'm sure it's not purposeful at all, but the world around us is like a massive attack on our hormones, a massive attack on women's ability to produce children, to produce offspring. And it comes a lot from this excessive estrogen exposure, which is from all the plants that got sprayed, all of the Roundup, all of the herbicides, all of those things. And then what is in the meat, what is in any flesh-based things, unfortunately, have been also hugely impacted. And as they're impacted, as we consume them, then we are also impacted. Things to do against that is to reduce our intake of those things, but maximize the metabolism of our liver. So things like castor oil packs or some type of liver flush, carrot juice, green juices, dandelion root, burdock root, all those things that can sort of enhance the functionality of our liver. So this says that we had a 57% rectification. Let's do a quick rescan, see if we get any awareness or new insight from doing a rescan, which goes to a deeper level. I optimize methylation processes in my body to maximize hormonal health and balance, sort of what we've been talking about. But that methylation comes up a lot for her. Sort of clearing acidity. Now we go to scleranthus. So that's usually feeling torn between two different things that you could do. So two different options, and you kind of go back and forth, can't really decide. And that's also related to gallbladder. So gallbladder is related to indecision, having trouble making decisions, really feel torn when having to make a decision, going back and forth between the two options is also gallbladder. So you start to see a theme emerge. If you really want to become good at biofeedback, try to sort of get into the habit of forcing yourself to ask yourself, is there a pattern here? Is there a recurring theme? And that can be really, really powerful. Scleranthus is a remedy to use at times when you're unable to determine where you stand in relation to actions you should take. Indecision may cause you to consider one option, then its opposite, wavering back and forth. Acting on left-right brain coordination, scleranthus helps you to recognize, that's interesting to make the decision. So scleranthus inherently in that flower essence is it helps to facilitate communication across the corpus callosum to enhance better left-right hemisphere communication. So that's an interesting thing about scleranthus that I didn't actually recognize. All right, so, all right, let's go back here and let's bring back Heather to our class. So Heather, please do join us again. Let's talk about some of the things that we've been discovering here and your thoughts about them. All right, Heather, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, all in line with everything that I already knew.
That's
No
awesome.
surprises, no surprises there.
That's really cool. That's so cool. It's fun, you know, to work on someone and then you're testing yourself all the time. You kind of have this great self-awareness and say like, yeah, like these are a lot of the things that I know are going on for me.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Anything else that you have an insight, or it just was all, you know, check the boxes, it was all true?
Check the boxes, it was all true.
Okay.
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, I'll be excited to send these frequencies your way, and you can utilize them for the next 7 days in your quantum capsule.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Heather, thank you so much. It's been great having you. All right, so we'll go ahead and just kind of round things up here. We'll get Heather her frequencies shortly, and we will just looking at this. Let's look at the two of the pictures that came up today. So I'm going to bring up the other one in just a moment so we can look at the before and after. So just, you know, a few minutes of running frequencies can make a big difference. And let's go ahead and see this, the before one. Oh, that's the same one. Let's get the other one in here. All right, so beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and bring this in. And yep, there we go. Okay, so let's look at the before and after. You know, you can see the similarities. You can kind of see the consistency as you look at the before and after, the things that are you know, sort of progressing. And so it's almost like we're diluting out, you know, all of that sort of the darkness, right? A lot of the brown is sort of almost like you see it almost like diluted out in the second one. And so it's like a detoxification process. And you do see the brightening. Let's go ahead and see if we can hide that avatar. Well, you do see that bright, bright green. That's interesting. And so, yeah, I think it's really working on the heart. You see this beautiful purple as well. That reminds me of the toroidal energy. So for you, Heather, you may really focus on the toroids from sacred geometry. Like just running that one frequency is really powerful. And the toroids in sacred geometry is not just one frequency. It's a whole combination of frequencies that are really powerful. But I think, you know, sometimes using that quick zap where we took the kidney vasculature and we ran the toroids and then we run the 528, that's really, really powerful. So this is looking really, really good before and after. And we worked on the digestion as well. So it's working good, but it all works in combination. It's the hormones and the sacred geometry. It's the hormones and the flower essences. It's the hormones and the solfeggiotones, because we're multifactorial. You know, so you want to get a lot of variety into your main whole tray, the affirmations, the flower essences, the hormones, the solfeggiotones, the sacred geometry, make it very dynamic. And that's going to get better results when you go ahead and you run your clients or you work on yourself. So you guys stay tuned for upcoming announcements and things into your inbox. We're going to be having just some really great offerings, prizes that we're going to give away during the holiday season. So you're going to see all those Black Friday specials starting to come up. And if you have any questions along the way, please send me a message, Ariel at geniusbiofeedback.com. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you so much. Be well, and bye-bye for now.